I'm not sure the Golden State Warriors even know what they're doing or what their plan is at this point. But on today's show, we have a plethora of blockbuster trade rumors coming from Shams Charania of ESPN, but also multiple NBA insiders that, while I was scripting this show out, more and more just started coming out across my Twitter feed, started getting notifications, all these different quotes. Golden State's going after this, Golden State's going after that. So let's just dive right into it. Shams with this via the Pat McAfee show earlier today. He said the Warriors are legitimately calling about every All-Star player. You name the All-Star player, the Warriors have probably called on him. Paul George, they probably have called. Oh, they have called on him, according to Shams. They have made calls on every star. That, of course, includes players like LeBron, players like Kevin Durant. And it seems to me like the fan base is, the front office is in desperation mode. I mean, Mike Dunleavy was getting clowned last night as massive NBA trade went down to send De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs. But more notably, in the Warriors' case, sending Zach LaVine to the Sacramento Kings. And, that was, according to a couple sources, Golden State's safest trade target over making a deal for Jimmy Butler. I mean, Mike Dunleavy has kind of been sleeping. There's been memes, AI-generated photos of him sleeping on a beach, sipping out of a coconut, all that good stuff. And, now we get all these reports coming out today that they're just going after everyone, every all-star player. They've called every single team. And it's because of things like this, man. Like a trade that makes multiple teams that are in your range in the Western Conference standings, the Kings, the Spurs. They make them both better than you now. Undeniably better than you now. It's one of the best duos in the NBA. Victor Wembanyama, who's already in year 2 as a top 10 player, getting De'Aaron Fox alongside him now. Is Sacramento necessarily so much better than Golden State? I'd say no, but they got to win now piece back when trading away their best player. Not many teams get the opportunity to go out and make that happen. So what does Golden State do now? Because remember, I made that video again last night talking about not only this trade, but also what Jimmy Butler had to say to Warriors brass. This coming from Brian Windhorst, like we mentioned last night, that Jimmy Butler has communicated to the Warriors that he's unwilling to sign an extension, and therefore trade talks to send him to Golden State have ended for now. Which I honestly thought that this was the end of the Jimmy Butler thing. I thought Golden State kind of escaped this, that they dodged a bullet of Jimmy Butler, because he is just a total drama queen right now when it comes to his whole trade situation and where he wants to go and his preference and all this stuff, but apparently not. I was literally done scripting this show, and then this quote came out from Anthony Slater. The for now aspect of that report was pinpointed by team and league sources. They are still 3 days until the deadline, an eternity in this transaction window. We know what can happen in that little amount of time. The Warriors believe they are still firmly in the mix for Butler or another of the league's star dominoes that could topple as part of Butler's transaction or once it is resolved. Like, I don't even know what to think right now, man. Like, what is going on? What reports are true? Because we have the most tapped-in individual, Anthony Slater, talking about a trade for Jimmy Butler to go to Golden State. We also have one of the most tapped-in guys at ESPN saying that this isn't happening anymore. But he did use that verbiage for now. Jimmy Butler trade is still out there, but I want to talk about who Shams mentioned in his quote, because as far as we know, Shams is the utmost authority on NBA insider knowledge right now. Shout out to Woj. He did retire this season, and it's been a crazy trade deadline. I'm sure he's kind of happy a bit that he is not super stressed out during this time of the year. Shout out my Bonnies, by the way, as well. Paul George, though. Are we retreading these tires once again? Are we doing this same song and dance that we did back over the summer, where Golden State would not part with Jonathan Kuminga or Brandon Podziemski in order to trade with the Clippers for Paul George? Well, now he's a Sixer. He's making a heck of a lot of money at $49 million, similar to what Butler makes as well. But could this be a trade that Golden State's willing to go back and look at? Because Paul George isn't really having the best year for the Sixers, and he's also on a 4-year max contract right now. And although that's not something that's easy to trade for, it's also not something that's easy to trade away, as nobody's going to really want to pay Paul George uber money, except for a team like a Golden State that is filled with aging stars like a Steph Curry and a Draymond Green. So a team that is prepared to go all in for a championship pursuit to try to get Steph and Dre their 5th championships. I mean, he's averaging 17 points a game this year. It's a huge drop-off production-wise offensively for PG, but I mean, I wouldn't be entirely opposed to having him come to Golden State because Steph was speaking so highly of him in the offseason. The front office thought that this was the missing piece that they needed. And if this is a possibility, could a 3-team trade potentially happen where Jimmy Butler gets sent over to Philly and Paul George gets sent to Golden State and maybe the Warriors decided to just send out whatever they were going to send for Butler, end up sending it to Miami? Like, this is entirely possible right now, but I don't know. I don't think Paul George necessarily puts you over the top as a contender in the Western Conference. Maybe with an elevated role. I can't even say elevated role because he's getting paid a ton of money. He's a focal point in the Sixers offense, and he just hasn't been there. But he is a great on-ball defender. We know throughout the history, he's been one of the best wing defenders in the game. Is he that at age 34 right now? Not so sure, but I think Golden State should be willing to exhaust all options right now. They should be willing to basically take any deal that they possibly can because everybody's lapping you in the Western Conference right now. They need to make a move, and it seems like they've finally woken up and realized that. Should Golden State trade for Paul George? Should they run this thing back once again? Let me know down in the comments section. Type T for trade, type P for pass. I want to hear what Dub Nation has to say about trading for PG once again. I feel like everybody on this Warriors team has to be available besides Steph at this point. And I'm even saying Draymond Green is available for trade because they're literally going out and calling everybody. So if they're calling everybody, then if they're willing to trade for everybody. And that means that some players will cost more than just an Andrew Wiggins. And especially with some salaries, some players will cost more than Andrew Wiggins and some expiring salaries. Draymond might have to be involved in one of these deals if they're really trying to prioritize Steph and what he's got going on. And as far as guys who could get traded, here are the contracts that you have. A lot of these guys are going to have to be sent away if you're trying to make a swing for a big salaried player. Buddy Hield, Kyle Anderson, GP2, Moses Moody, Looney. And Moody's very tricky to trade this year due to his poison pill contract. But it doesn't just end here. The players that Golden State was prioritizing this offseason, the young talent, they could be dealt now too because they're not only looking at a Jimmy Butler or a Paul George or a LeBron or a KD, these aging stars. They're also looking at guys like LaMelo Ball and Zion Williamson, these younger players who would 100% command some of the young talent on this roster, specifically Jonathan Kuminga. That is your number one trade chip on this roster right now. Also, though, they also have a ton of draft capital as well. They can trade 3 first-round picks, 3 tradable first-round picks that you can send away unprotected. And for a Golden State team that could not employ Steph Curry past 2027, that might be very enticing for a team to take on. Think about giving away the 27, 29, and 30 first-round picks. This is a legitimate possibility for Golden State to go and do. But just let's all calm down for a second. The trade deadline is still 3 days away, and they probably won't make a trade until the day before the deadline because of Dennis Schroeder's contract. Don't forget about that one as well. $13 million. And don't also forget about our trade deadline coverage right here on the channel. We will be live for the NBA trade deadline on Thursday. So make sure you lock us in as your number one spot for Warriors trade deadline coverage. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notifications as well. Hit the bell icon and make sure you get alerted when we go live right here at Warriors Today because it's going to be an awesome time on the trade deadline day. Next up, we're going to talk about even crazier blockbuster trade rumors like Shams mentioned. LeBron, KD, could they actually pull this off? We'll talk about that in a moment, but first, I got to give a major shout out to today's sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports platform with over 10 million active members, including yours truly. And it's so simple, and they're always trying to hook you guys up with incredible deals, like a free $50 in your account and use our promo code CLNS and place your first $5 entry. You might be asking me, Tyler, how do you even place an entry on Prize Picks? Super simple. All you guys got to do is pick a lineup of 2 to 6 player stat projections and just pick more or less on them and then watch the real money roll in while you're watching your favorite sports. And the $50 isn't the only deal that they're hooking you guys up with. They got Taco Tuesday, Flex Friday. Taco Tuesday is where they give you discounted stat projections across multiple sports. Flex Friday means if you lose your lineup, they'll give it back to you, your entry, in promo funds. It's so electric on Prize Picks. And when they got big games coming around, they got you guys with incredible deals for that as well. The big game coming up this Sunday, Chiefs, Eagles, you guys know the vibes. They're going to give you guys Patrick Mahomes more than half a passing yard. So if you pair this up with one other player in the big game or a basketball player of your choice, you're already halfway to winning on Prize Picks. It would be a 3x payout. So make sure you take advantage of that when you download the Prize Picks app today and use our promo code CLNS for $50 instantly when you place your first $5 entry. You don't even need to win to receive the $50. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, Run Your Game. All that information is clickable down in the comment section and description of today's video. Is this possible? Going for LeBron, going for Kevin Durant once again, going for both? Listen, I did not wake up expecting to read headlines that Golden State is pursuing LeBron James and Kevin Durant, but here we are. I'm only bringing you what I've heard. The Stein line is a reputable source at this point, and Jake Fisher has this. He said James has shown no indication that he is willing to waive his no-trade clause this season. League sources told the Stein line. There are certainly teams, Golden State chief among them, sources said, that have inquired, whether that stance could change between now and Thursday's trade deadline. Listen, going back to the Olympics, going back multiple years at this point, LeBron loves Steph. Like, we know LeBron loves playing with Steph. We know he loved playing with him in Paris this summer, and the prospect of teaming up with him has been broached to him before, and he kind of has agreed that this is something that he would like to do late in his career. It's not exactly super easy to do, especially after the Lakers just made the biggest trade of my lifetime across any sport, trading for Luka Doncic from the Mavericks and sending AD to Dallas. And according to multiple reports, to replace Anthony Davis at this point, the Lakers are now targeting rim-protecting centers to go alongside LeBron and Luka. So they're not exactly like just focusing on the future entirely. They're still trying to win a championship this year. So I highly, highly, highly doubt that LeBron is on the trade block right now, that LA is willing to trade him. But hey, this kind of boils down to LeBron, whether or not he wants out or not, whether or not he feels comfortable or confident that this Lakers team can go far in the postseason. And if we look back at the trade that was made for Luka to LA, like, it's kind of crazy because the Lakers didn't give up that much. Like, they're still in a pretty good spot overall. Maybe the defense is lacking and maybe the rim protection in the front court isn't really there on this roster right now, but they still are flexible enough to go out there and make more moves. Like, they only gave up, besides AD, Max Christie and Jalen Hood-Schifino. Like, they didn't give up anything, man. And maybe, they think they can win a title this year. But if they don't, and if specifically LeBron doesn't, is a trade possible for LBJ to come to the Bay? I'm not so sure, but man, would it be fun. Man, watching the Olympics this summer was some of the best basketball that we've ever seen, and it was much thanks to the great dynamic and the chemistry of LeBron and Steph. And meanwhile, LeBron is still playing at an elite top 10 level in this league. You could argue top 5 level in this league. Maybe not the scoring output that we saw back in 21-22. His 30-point per game seasons are probably behind him at this point, but he is still affecting the game in so many ways. He's shooting the three ball at an efficient level. Absolute dimer of a playmaker, is over 9 assists. So I think that would be the highest average of his career. So LeBron is still affecting the game in so many ways. And there's even, like, I don't know if you guys saw the windmill, the lefty windmill that he ran and posterized somebody with a couple weeks ago. Like, this guy still has insane athleticism at age 40. And personally, I think that LeBron and Steph, if paired together, and granted the surrounding pieces around them are good as well, can win the title in 2026, and it would be the coolest run that anybody's ever seen. I think everybody would be rooting Steph and LeBron on at age 37, age 41, trying to go grab the Larry one more time. It could solidify Steph as a top 3 player ever. It could solidify LeBron as the best player ever. It would be absolute cinema to watch that go down. But at the end of the day, the Lakers won't trade LeBron unless it's a king's ransom. No pun intended, of course. And I don't really think Golden State has a king's ransom to offer. If Jonathan Kuminga is the best piece going away in a trade offer for LeBron James, then Rob Pelinka is going to hang that phone up so quickly. He just committed highway robbery trading for Luka Doncic. I don't think that he's going to sit here and just take some lousy deal for the king. Like, it's just not going to happen. But hey, the possibility's out there, and Golden State is pursuing it. Maybe they trade away every pick that they possibly have, every swap, every young player, Andrew Wiggins, and whatever else they need to complete the salaries. It could happen. It probably won't. Let's be honest, though. Do you want to see LeBron and Steph team up in the Bay? Because God knows I do. I mean, type Y for yes, type N for no. As much as you might hate LeBron at this point in his career and at this point in the relationship between Steph and LeBron, it would be awesome to see them team up. Type Y for yes, type N for no. We're going to shift over to Durant now. I wanted to get LeBron out of the way first because Durant feels like, to me, the more plausible option to trade for if you're thinking about Golden State. He's 35. Phoenix is towards Golden State's spot, toward the bottom of the Western Conference standings. And, he is still playing an elite level as well. Jake Fisher, with his bombshell report, continues saying this. The Warriors, as Mark Stein reported, did not move forward with their own conversations regarding Chicago's Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic this weekend, sources said, as Golden State continued to deliberate over the pursuit for Jimmy Butler and, wait for it, exploring the feasibility of reuniting Kevin Durant with Steph Curry. Man, this is juicy. Is it possible, though? I think it's more possible than the LeBron trade. Let's be honest. Not only do the Lakers not want to trade LeBron, but LeBron also has to waive his no-trade clause, which he has already said after the Luka deal that he's not doing. This feels a little bit more plausible. You guys saw KD's reaction to the Luka trade. He was baffled. He was stunned, and I think he thought in his head that this Suns team wasn't winning a title this season. And Phoenix is also trying to trade for Jimmy Butler right now, and I don't really know what their direction is at this point. Are they giving away Bradley Beal? That's what would have to happen if a deal for Butler was made. So it seems like, at least preliminarily, Phoenix is going to be listening to Kevin Durant trade offers. More from Fisher. Said Phoenix entering Monday's business continue to signal that it does not plan to move Durant before the deadline, but the Suns are believed to be listening at the very least to various teams' pitches for the 35-year-old scoring legend. Durant, meanwhile, is said to be aware of all of this. Listen, Suns aren't eager to move KD. Like, why would they be why would they want to let him go? He's playing at a baller level right now. Like, the efficiencies that this guy puts up year in and year out, although his three-point volume isn't super high, it's still super efficient. 27 on the year, 53 from the field, 40 from three. Like, he is still an elite player. But can he win a title in Phoenix right now? Like, I just don't think it's going to happen. And the only way that I think it's remotely possible is if they go out there and get Jimmy Butler. But is the Butler trade to Phoenix going to work out? He kind of seems to be digging himself a grave right now with how he's treating the Miami Heat and how he's going with all of these deals. And he said what he said about Golden State. He said what he said about Memphis. I think he said what he said about Milwaukee. I think he might be willing to go to Milwaukee. I'm not so sure about that. But he's being a total diva with all this stuff. And without Jimmy Butler in tow in Phoenix, they think they could win the title. Like, they're a mid-pack team right now, and albeit they have some injuries on their roster and they've dealt with some things this season, but I don't think that Phoenix could win the title this year as currently constructed. They've tried their damnedest, but it doesn't seem that way. So maybe they decide that enough is enough. This trial thing with Kevin Durant, trading for him a couple of years ago, didn't exactly work out, and we'll send him back to the Bay Area where he can reunite with Steph, and we'll get a king's ransom. We'll get every pick that they have to offer, and like literally every pick that Golden State can trade to them and every swap, I would send away for Kevin Durant, because that is a player that can take Golden State over the top. But what if they get KD and LeBron? What? Like, I don't even know how this is remotely possible. I haven't looked into the financials. Like, I feel like Golden State would have to give away the entire roster outside of 30 to get these two guys in town. But here's what Jake Fisher had to say about what Golden State is dreaming of. That sources say the most ambitious idea being tossed around among Golden State's decision makers is there any feasible pathway for the Warriors to pull off the dreamiest of outcomes and find a way to bring both James and Durant to the Bay. I can only laugh at something like that, because like, this would legitimately be the craziest move in sports history. LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, all on the same roster in Big 2025. That's literally impossible. I think this would be crazier. Legit, I would be more shocked, jaw to the floor, than Luka Doncic being traded to the Lakers if LeBron, KD, and Steph all teamed up in Golden State. And if this were to happen, the salary is just, this is a casualty right here. Draymond, he'd have to go. Unfortunately, I don't know where he would go. I don't know what trades would be made. I don't know what specifics would be thrown out there. I don't even know how you make a deal for both these guys, because you're gonna one of the two is going to be asking for all your picks, and the other one's not going to get enough back in return draft capital-wise. Plus, Draymond would have to be dealt. And then once you do make a deal for these guys, like, what's the move after that? Like, you have zero depth behind three 36-plus-year-olds. Steph, 36, KD, 36, LeBron's 40. Like, this would be a slippery slope, but man, would it be fun watching the 25 minutes a game that these three play on the floor together. Like, it would be it'd be a lot of fun, and yeah, they'd have a chance at winning the NBA championship. But is it all that possible? Is it all that probable? Absolutely not. But hey, as far as the two guys we talked about in the back half of today's show, pick one for me. Who would you rather trade for? LeBron, give me an LBJ. KD, give me a KD, of course. And if you want both, if you think that's possible, and if you would gut the team to do it, give me a both down in the comments section. We can talk about it more on Twitter as well. Hit me up at Smitty@CS. I'm trying to build a Warriors community over there, and I'm going to bring you guys the trade deadline news as soon as it happens on that platform. So give me a follow. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Make sure you are subscribed and join us on Thursday for that trade deadline live. We'll see you in the next one. Let's go Dubs.